This is Wick Waldron, and he's the headmaster here at the boardroom, otherwise known as
Sound Products.
Sound Products, okay. And I guess my first question is, what in your background history and upbringing, what led you to do this sort of business?
Well, my father was an architect. He loved to do woodwork. Growing up, we weren't real wealthy, so we built a lot of things together. We would design them, make a material list, and then build it. And also, he had a sailboat, and we would come up to the San Juans 2 weeks out of every summer. And I first came to Friday Harbor in 1958.
Wow, that's a long time ago.
It was a long time ago, and it was a very primitive town and kind of disjointed. Brown's was down at the gas dock. The port was one skinny sinking float. Riptide was there, Bank was there, but it was pretty spotty. And then also in, let's see, in 1961, I went to Camp Orkila. I took the first ride on the Evergreen State, which they just retired, unfortunately. And it was just heaven on earth to me up here then. And I went to college, but I didn't finish what I started in. Because we had a sailboat, I knew how to work on boats, so I did a lot of boat work before I moved up here. And then when I did move up here, in 1972, I worked on boats for a while, but it's really hard to make many hours, you know, walking up and down the dock and the weather and so forth. Anyway, one thing led to another, and I did some commercial fishing. Then I was asked to help some people finish their house. So we did all the finish work, and then they wanted me to build the kitchen cabinets. And the next thing I know, where I lived, I had a shop, and I started building kitchen cabinets. They were pretty primitive, but I could do it. And then things went on, and back in the day, I got one call to work on a floor, and the phone never stopped ringing for that. And so then in 1978, I bought this property, and within the first month of being here, we built a shop. And again, it was primitive. It's about to fall down now. And then I got the call on the flooring, and all of a sudden I was in the flooring business for 40 years. But we did floor repair, and then I started making my own floor because I had the equipment to do. So we'd make different flooring. And I was always wanting to get into a better shop. So in the early 90s, business was good enough and I could afford to build this shop. And then, the tools kind of collected me. Somebody would have a big tool and they'd say, "Hey, Rick, I got this so-and-so, you should have this." And it just...
Say that again. The tools collected you?
Yeah, the tools selected me. I mean, they just came to me. I had
It's an interesting way to think about things, isn't
it? Well, you couldn't stop me when I was 28. I had a lot of ambition, and that's where this all started. And that's why I built that house. I don't know if we're to that point yet, but it just came natural. My father had trained me to be a contractor without even really knowing it, and it just came easy. So I just continued to do it. I'd buy one tool at a time when I needed it for a job, and just, when I first came here, all I had was hand tools. And I just started getting more and more and having more capability, and I've always enjoyed it. So it comes easy.
So you did talk about your family relations there. You're talking about your dad and stuff. What about the rest of the family? Are they around, or what's going on?
Yes, my two brothers live here because I moved here. They visited me, and they both moved here. My older brother's an architect in town, and pretty much the main one. And my other brother, the family historically was farm family. And my dad decided he did not want to be a farmer. And he went to the university and trained as an architect, and later he was asked to be the dean of architecture at the university, and he turned it down because he said, "No, I want to practice architecture. I don't want to teach it." He did teach at the university, and actually there used to be a guy here. I don't know if you've been here, John Dickinson. He was kind of a shirt-tail architect. And
how long ago was that?
Oh boy, he'd been gone for 15 or 20 years now.
Uh-huh.
But he took classes from my dad. So it's kind of in the family, definitely.
I guess it is, yeah. So you said you'd acquired the property in what,
1978?
78.
Yeah.
That's 45 years ago, right?
Yes.
Yeah. You're coming up on a sesquicentennial or something here, right?
Well,
something like that. Not sesqui. What is it? Whatever that is.
I've lived on the island for 51 years.
Yeah.
So I've been here for 51 years, seen quite a few changes, and then saw it before that.
Well, I wanted to get into this. I wanted to get into this a little bit because I was like, the first thing that you notice when you drive up to this place is that house. How many floors are in that house?
4.
4 floors. What prompted you to build a really tall house on this property like that?
Well, I lived in Europe for a year and a half, and in my travels in Europe, I always admired the style of lodge with the farm animals below, timber frame. I spent time in Italy, Switzerland, France, England, and I don't know, it just always intrigued me. And even before I even moved here, I was collecting timbers. No, you're in the. Excuse me.
We're shooting.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Anyway, so even before I moved here, I was collecting timbers. I lived on Lake Union, and there were yacht cradles that had come in from Malaysia, and I had a big stack of exotic woods that I carried around for like 10 years. And then
Carry them around.
well, I moved them. When I moved from place to place, I'd have these big stack of wood even before I had property. And I remember I bought two big timbers from an old boat shop. And then when I finally built this house, they were too big to use.
Huh.
I had to cut them down, but they're in there. And so I built this timber frame because I was intrigued with it. And at 28, I had so much energy that we lived in a little teeny house here, had more kids, and I would design this building, and I figured we couldn't afford to go on vacation, so it better be big. And then I was trying to get as much under one roof as possible. So there you go, it's 45 feet tall.
Wow.
And
45 feet. You're approaching the trees around
that's
here.
right.
You know?
That's right. And you know, and it was built in the style of an Amish barn. We had a raising, and it had 4 major timber sections, and the center ones were 30 foot wide and 30 foot high.
Wow.
And it got to the point when I would ask people if they'd come to a work party, they'd turn around and go away because they knew I was serious. Anyway.
Where did you learn about all the variety? You know probably as much as anybody I've ever met about trees and what kind of woods they are and what they're used for. So,
well,
where did you learn about all these varieties of trees and woods and what they're used for, mostly used for?
Well, one thing I love to do is to go and search for woods and find the people that cut them and where they are, and learn from them the different characteristics. And I've just always loved wood. So any information that I could gather, I would gather. And you know, one step at a time. And then because I worked with so many of them, I learned by experience what works and what doesn't work, and what woods are better to use, in my opinion, than others.
Where have you been to? You know, like you've obviously done a lot of traveling, but when you're acquiring these trees and the logs and so forth, you know, where did you kind of go to do that? How you know, I'm trying to say something here, stumbling over my own words. So where have you been to acquire the woods and to, you know, pick up that knowledge?
Well, it's not practical to move logs very far, so I usually try to find sawn slabs or the right size wood and haul it. So I've always hauled wood all the way from Northern California up into BC and as far east as Montana.
Wow.
And then at one point I was involved in a rainforest, sustainable rainforest group, but I don't have that kind of money. It takes a small fortune, and you only get a little bit of some woods. You can't easily get more. So I learned that I'm better to find unusual indigenous woods, meet the millers, and then let them know, boy, if you run into this or that, give me a call. And they do, and I still really enjoy that. Well, Madrona from Southern Oregon.
Madrona would be cool.
It's cool. It's very unstable,
Oh, is it?
and it's challenging. If you look at the tree, I have had some success, but oftentimes they spiral like this. Well, I've spent years trying to make crooked wood straight,
Yeah.
and the problem is it's got a memory and it tends to want to twist again. Once you release, like if it's got a curve, I'll cut it straight, and by the time it's dried, it's kind of in tension, so it oftentimes will return to its natural state. So,
Um, when did you start the business? This
in 70,
the business that you're doing right here in this shop. You've got a lot of tools and equipment in here. You can do just about anything you want.
pretty much.
So how did you? When did you start this and make an actual business out of it? In the state of
Well,
Washington,
I've
you
been
think?
licensed since the late 70s, and like I say, because I did so many things and basically light manufacturing, I'm basically a small factory here of sorts, a specialty. Um, so people would see, and then if they knew of a tool, they would let me know. And like I say, the tools have kind of gathered me. They still, people say, oh, I know so-and-so that's got, no, I got enough. I got what I want. So I just, historically, when I started, I'd start working, and then if I needed something, I'd go find it or buy it and just keep adding as I needed it. And then, it became more and more of a manufacturing thing, like manufacturing flooring. Very often I would get the trees from the house site, have them sawn, and then make flooring for the house. So they're sitting where they grew.
Wow. How many? Just a kind of generalize what's happening. Um, How many different kinds of woods do you have in here?
I
Do you
think
know?
the last time that and they're in varying amounts, the last time I wrote them down, there was 20 to 25 species in here, granted in various amounts. Because I bought and sold hardwoods, domestic hardwoods, and I would sell them to the contractors for 5 or 10 years. So every time I'd see a nice board, I'd put it in my stash. And, now it's time to use those before I'm gone.